Welcome back into the locker room. I'm once again your host, Will Kronsberg, joined this week again by Braden Maloy. We're going to talk college football. We're 12 weeks into the college football season. It's given a lot. It's taken a lot. What have been the best surprises for you?
Well, I mean, I guess we kind of got to start here in Columbia with Beamer Ball. I mean, look, we got 6 wins 2 nights ago. That was an exciting time. Especially against a team that we did. It wasn't kind of like we got our 6 wins against Troy or whatever. We had a quality win against Auburn. So definitely here has been a nice surprise. My Georgia faithful team down there in Athens, that's been a great year down there now, 11-0, hoping to go 12-0 next year. I've really just enjoyed the parity of this year and how many, there's only 2 undefeated teams left. 3, I guess, Georgia, Cincinnati, and UTSA. That's right. The Roadrunners down there. They're making a name for themselves. But I've really loved how it really feels like any given Saturday, anybody can beat anybody. And for the past couple of years, it's not really been like that. You had your Bamas and Clemsons and Oklahomas and Ohio States and Georgias, and they usually finish undefeated, or if their one loss came in their championship game. Well, this year, they all have one loss, and sometimes they don't look great. They win by 3 points to a team they probably should beat by 20. Or they blow out a team that was in the top 10. It's so much parity this year. I really enjoy it. It makes Saturdays fun again across the board, not just in the SEC.
One thing that's really surprised me has been how weak some of the Power 5 conferences have been. The ACC, a team that sent their conference champion to the playoffs every year of the playoffs, has almost no chance at making the playoffs this year. Clemson has 3 losses. A team that's been to the playoffs the last 6 years, they now have 3 losses. They're barely a 2-touchdown favorite this weekend, which we'll get into further. But the Big 12 has one outside shot of making the playoffs, but it's not Oklahoma. The Pac-12 doesn't have a chance. But you see an independent like Notre Dame, who lost their quarterback from the last 4 years. They're still hanging around. Of course, the American has been pretty strong. Not only Cincinnati in the top 5, but they've had a few other teams sprinkled around the top 25 in and out this year. A lot of that has come down to a couple really good players. No true Heisman standouts so far. Desmond Ritter's had a good season. Oklahoma's Spencer Rattler, he was the preseason favorite. Nothing went well there. Same thing with DJ Uiagalelei at Clemson. So who are your top Heisman favorites going into this week?
I think this past weekend, Bryce Young more or less locked it up. 556 passing yards, I think, second most in SEC game history. First most in Alabama history, but second most in SEC history. I think just the performance he put on. CJ Stroud been doing great at Ohio State second half of the year, but their defense is kind of here and there, and he had 6 touchdowns, but he was also playing Michigan State, who had the worst pass defense in the country. So you got to take that kind of with a grain of salt. And I get Bama is not playing the best competition either, but I just think he came in the year not quite as high as maybe DJ or Spencer, but he was kind of up there. And I think he's done nothing this year to prove to me otherwise, that he should not be there in New York. But I think kind of right now it's Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud kind of leading it. I think Kenneth Walker was there. His performance this past Saturday, I think he was held to less than 10 yards. That's not really going to do it. You got to show up in the big games for Heisman voters. You got defensive players. Will Anderson, the linebacker at Bama, may be the best defensive player in the country. He's only a sophomore, but he can get after the quarterback. He can cover. You got big Jordan Davis down there in Athens. He got him a touchdown on senior day this past Saturday. So in a year where maybe it's not so quarterback heavy driven, I still think a quarterback wins the award.
Well, the Heisman voters are obsessed with offense, and who brings the most offense but a quarterback? Matt Corral was in that conversation for a while. Ole Miss has sort of receded towards the median, so he's fallen out, and it's coming down to Stroud and Young. And the difference is one of them played a top 3 team from 2 weeks ago. Now they're going to fall out of the top 10, but Michigan State was undefeated. They beat a top 10 team just 2 weeks ago, and C.J. Stroud defeated them and defeated them handily. He only played half the game, and he put up video game numbers. Alabama played a cupcake, so it's weird to say that C.J. Stroud actually faced the easier defense.
You called Arkansas a cupcake? I mean, Arkansas. What are they? They're 7-4. I wouldn't call Arkansas a cupcake. I say maybe in the realm of Alabama football, they're nowhere near that. I don't know if I call them a cupcake like we saw maybe like Texas A&M. What do they play? Prairie View. Texas Prairie. That's a cupcake. I think Arkansas is still a solid team, but I do hear what you're saying. He did play a team that has been in the top of these rankings this entire year. Team that beat Michigan. Michigan currently sitting at 6. Right now, or are they 7? They're around that area. He did play well. Again, their defense has been the worst against the pass all year long, and they just really haven't faced a team that can pass like Ohio State. With the receive, I think Ohio State has the best receiving core in the country, and so that just combination of best receiving core with a stud like Stroud. Against a defense that bad. I mean, it was going to be in for a long day. The only way Michigan State was going to have a chance was what if Kenneth Walker had another 5-touchdown game, and that just didn't happen. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. This Saturday is going to be big for both those guys. Yes, Auburn is still not at the level of Michigan for Ohio State and Alabama, but it's still a rivalry game. It's a high pressure game. Is it in Tuscaloosa this year?
It's in Auburn. Okay, well. It's a Jordan Hare.
I tell people this all the time. Night games at Jordan Hare late in the season scare the heck out of me. I don't care how good my team is, who's playing them. Stuff goes on in that stadium. It's black magic down the prayer. Jordan Hare kick 6. They got some kind of voodoo dolls down there. So it's going to be a game for Bama down there in a Jordan Hare.
Now, focusing on Stroud and moving across the state to the other playoff possible team in Ohio, Cincinnati. They're in the American. No team from the American or any other Group of 5 conference, for that matter, has made the college football playoff in 7 years. Very simply, does Cincinnati have a shot?
I think they have a shot. I think they have the best shot they've had, or a Group of 5 team has ever had, because of, like we mentioned earlier, the parity and just everybody with a 1 loss, and they're sitting there undefeated. They have to do their job. They have to win out, and they have to win the American Championship. They have to take care of that. If not, it becomes a moot point. But they have to take care of that. They're going to need help. They're going to get some this weekend as Ohio State plays Michigan. One of those teams will come out with a second loss, and so they'll be completely out of the conversation. Yeah. So they'll definitely get help there. You have to look at teams in the Big 12. Oklahoma State. They're looking good. Their defense is good, but are they going to have a strong enough schedule, even with a Big 12 champion? Are they going to be placed over Cincinnati? That might throw the whole college football fan base into a tizzy if that happened. You still have Michigan if they win. Notre Dame, yes, you have head-to-head, but this year head-to-head has not been the deciding factor. As we saw a couple weeks ago, they put Michigan above Michigan State just 10 days after Michigan State beat them. So, I think the committee is doing everything they can to keep Cincinnati out. I don't know it's on purpose. I don't know if it's a bias against them. It's just happening like that. I think this is their best shot to get it. Here's my thing on it. If you put Cincinnati in, you end the whole discussion from here on out. Because either they go in first round and get blown out by a Georgia or Alabama or OSU, and then you're kind of like, see, we told you they play great. Their schedule, not with the Power 5 big boys. Or they go in, win a game. I don't think they'd win 2, but they might pull off an upset in the semifinal. Then they're like, okay, look, we told you they were a quality team. Here's what they've shown. So I think there's a very good chance, better than there has been previous years, for them to get in.
And finally, finishing with something very local. In fact, just down the road at Williams-Brice. Of course, we have the Palmetto Bowl this weekend. It's been 2 years since we have seen the Clemson Tigers come to Columbia. Clemson is, as I mentioned, 8-3. This is a team that's made the playoffs for over the last half decade, but DJ Uyunglele is struggling. Their defense has been banged up. South Carolina, on the other hand, they're 6-5. They only have 6 wins between 2019 and 2020, but they've done it just this year, a winning record in their first year under Shane Beamer. What's to be excited about, and do we have a chance this weekend at Williams-Brice?
I think there's everything to be excited about for this game. I talked about it this last week with a couple buddies that I'm glad they got this. I wanted them to get the 6th win out of the way this past weekend, because the Carolina-Clemson game is so pressure-packed already, so anxiety-driven because of what it means, the in-state rivalry, recruiting-wise. before kind of Clemson took off, it was a lot of, okay, postseason implications on bowl games and all that kind of stuff. It's just state pride. We're only an hour and about 2 hours away from them. So we all, like us here, students, grew up with the students there at Clemson. So it's kind of that friendly rivalry. And if you added trying to become bowl eligible onto that, I thought it would have been too much. Like, that's a lot for a team. So I'm glad they got it out of the way. And they can go into the game and have fun. Now, I mean, you still got to be disciplined. You're still playing a game. You're still trying to win, and it's still a good team, despite their record. They still got 5 stars across the board. They're still a quality team. But you get to have fun. You're bowl eligible. You've made the postseason now. Now it's time to kind of just play loose, play free. I think that will be the key to this game. You got to play loose, play free. Understand that, hey, this is a year that you can pull it off. You can end Clemson's run. And man, imagine Beamer first year. He beats Clemson, Auburn, and Florida in your first year. Goes 7-5 when most people thought, you have 3 wins. That's going to be. I mean, he was emotional after the Auburn game. I can only imagine how just excited and emotional he'll be if they pull off the upset. I think it happens. They're 5-1 at home this year. Clemson's coming here. I mean, it's last night game. For seniors, last night game of the year in Willie B. Mm-hmm. That place will be rocking. It's the whole atmosphere of the game is going to be exciting.
Well, I mean, there's a lot to be excited about between what's happening here, rivalry games in Auburn, between Ohio State and Michigan, even what's happening in the Big 12. But until then, that'll do it for us this week on The Locker Room. Will Kronsberg, Braden Maloy, thank you for joining us.